Arguably the worst kept secret in this year's NBA draft is the Orlando Magic's glaring need of a shooting specialist. The Magic ranked just 24th in 3-point shooting this past season and finished in the bottom 4 for 3 straight seasons before that. And it's why every mock draft you run across usually has a Magic taking a shooter with one of their first round picks. During his post-lottery press conference, Magic GM Jeff Weltman kind of tiptoed around the topic of shooting, but with Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner leading the way, and with the Magic young core rounding into shape, the time is now to find a specialist shooter for the future to complement them. Fortunately for the Magic, there's a boatload of good shooting prospects in this year's NBA draft, but 2 stand out from the rest and are kind of in a tier of their own. One of them is UConn sophomore Jordan Hawkins, who's fresh off winning a national title. He's a straight up sniper who loves to take and make contested threes, and is probably the best moving shooter in this draft. He's like an Energizer Bunny off the ball, constantly moving, stopping and starting, reading and reacting, running through screens, following in the footsteps of past UConn greats like Ray Allen and Rip Hamilton. You'll find his clips fun to watch. If he's drafted by the Magic, then Jamal Mosley will need to get creative in order to utilize him effectively. For example, running pin downs, ghost flares, floppy actions for him. He has a good shooting form with a quick release. He put up a high volume of threes at 7 attempts per game, something the Magic desperately need for the 2-guard position. Defenders won't be able to double up on Paolo, knowing Hawkins is waiting in the corner to hoist up a 3, and he'll make it if he's open. He converts threes at a near 40% clip, but what's even more impressive is that he shot 50%, 21 for 42 from downtown in the NCAA tournament, so you know he's a big game shooter. And what I like about him as a shooting prospect is his ability to quickly get his feet set coming off the catch. And if his feet aren't set, then he'll make sure to be squared up to the basket at least. He's just simply a versatile shooter. Now the other shooting prospect is Gradey Dick, a freshman from Kansas. He's a pure shooting wing with a textbook shooting form and has surprisingly decent bounce. Gradey isn't just a set shooter. He has good footwork, can pull up off of 1 or 2 dribbles, shoot well even off a bad to low passes, and he has unlimited range. In transition, he loves to leak out on the break, is quicker than you think, he's always competing, he wouldn't play for Bill Self if he didn't, crashes the boards hard, and isn't afraid to mix it up with bigger players in the paint. At 6'7", he could be like a Kyle Korver who had similar draft measurements to him, and we all know he was more than just a shooter, or a confident Duncan Robinson, a clutch shooter but also someone who can play in playoff games despite being slow, by being a great team defender, jumping passing lanes, and contesting shots. Gradey Dick and Jordan Hawkins have similar games. They're both elite movement shooters with lightning quick releases, more athletic than you think, they're smart intuitive cutters off the ball, struggle to self-create, and have some room for improvements on defense. And defense is going to be a critical deciding factor between the two. The Magic aren't just going to draft a shooter just because fans like us beg them to or some draft experts expect them to. They're not going to waste a first round pick on a one-dimensional shooter with bad defense like a Seth Curry or Luke Kennard. If they're going to target a shooter, then they better believe he can play defense in the future and also play make a little. Think Desmond Bane, KCP, Kevin Huerter, Mikal Bridges, Duncan Robinson. And in this video, I'm going to compare Jordan Hawkins and Gradey Dick to find out which of the two fits the Magic better and who will be the better defender and playmaker in the future. So let's get straight into the video. Alright, here's some, you can say, factors of differentiation the Magic might consider when comparing the two. Defending, playmaking, who is the better contested shooter, the better fit, and who has a higher potential. First, let's compare the shooting. Shout out to Dennis Yambin, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, of the Gathering Intel podcast for organizing all these stats from Synergy so conveniently for all of us to use. So yeah, you can see both of them shot the lights out from downtown in every way last season. Now this is just based off stats. I haven't watched every game that they played, but the stats say that Jordan Hawkins is the better contested shooter. Converting at a 44% clip when guarded off the catch is incredible. Gradey wasn't too shabby either at 38%. Hawkins again 40% on contested pull-up threes. Gradey even better at 42.5% on nearly 150 attempts. That number surprised me. It proves that he's more than just a spot-up shooter. The stats also portray Gradey as a better shooter off the dribble. However, most of them were just 1 or 2 dribble pull-ups, but it's a good sign for him at least. Now the concern for both of them is their 2-point percentages off the dribble. Gradey at just 39% and Jordan at only 35%. I guess Gradey hasn't beat there, but yeah, they both need to improve. The stats also favor Gradey scoring near the rim in the half court, which is useful because they're both great cutters and will be fed a lot on backdoor cuts with the Magic offense being ran through their big wings. Hawkins is still thin and needs to add strength. If he struggled to finish against college athletes, then he would probably struggle even more against NBA level length. Gradey has the size to manage at least. He's a decent athlete, and being ambidextrous certainly doesn't hurt. Back to his shooting, I think Gradey Dick's shot is going to be hard to contest even at the NBA level. He has a quick trigger and he has a high enough release point to shoot even over the best contests. The ball doesn't dip an inch from his catch point and he gets a great arc on his shot. His shooting mechanics are very similar to Caleb Houstan's. I think Gradey Dick and Caleb Houstan's games are very similar, but Gradey's just a better athlete and displays some more playmaking potential. But having 2 snipers over 6'7" would not be a bad thing at all for the Magic. I also like Caleb. Gradey moves well off the ball to get open and has good cutting instincts. Even off the catch, he has like an innate feel of where to be to get open. For example, perfect relocations to free spaces on the court. Jordan, as I've said, is already a great off-ball mover, but when cutting towards the rim, his finishing was poor, and despite being a great shooter, his touch around the basket is pretty bad as well. He doesn't have the moves and the footwork to get crafty around the basket, but what he can provide is rim pressure, a glaring need for the Magic from the 2-guard spot. He may not finish well, but he can draw fouls at least. His first step isn't super explosive, but he can get to the basket with his long strides. Hawkins posted an impressive free throw rate of .37. He usually gets downhill fast and can straight yam it on anyone off closeouts or straight line drives, but not that well off the dribble when guarded. He has enough athleticism, but his handles, again, are still very weak. Gradey won't provide any rim pressure, but I think he'd be a better mid-range shooter, specifically from the left block area where he shot 43% and the left baseline area at 71%. I think both of them are a wash when it comes to shooting. It's pretty much take your pick. Gradey being taller could be a slight advantage in the eyes of Weltman and Hammond though. I mentioned defense at the start of the video and it's going to be the principal deciding factor between the two. Both of them will probably get 100 on switches early on in their careers, but I think Gradey, despite being slower laterally, will be able to hold up better at the next level, and it's all due to his size and his longer wingspan. Jordan Hawkins is really thin. He's 6'5" but still very slender right now. He'll get absolutely destroyed on switches against bigger wings like Jason Tatum or stronger guards like Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, who would just finish straight through his chest and score. I think Gradey has more potential to add to his frame, and he has a decent 6'9" wingspan. People have been comparing him to Corey Kispert and Luke Kennard, but both of those players have negative wingspans, and Gradey is also more mobile than them. He has active arms, is willing to take charges, navigates through screens, and closes out well. If he can hold up just as good as Duncan Robinson has in the playoffs so far, then that would be ideal for the Magic. Up to the finals, Duncan has played sound defense, has been physical, and has contested shots well. I can envision Gradey doing the same in future playoff games. Jordan Hawkins has a motor and could be at best like a pest on ball against guards, picking them up full court like Cole Anthony. He has good reaction time for getting steals or deflections and can cover a decent amount of ground off the ball. He can contest shots well enough, but again will get hunted and killed on switches against bigger wings and stronger players. Now another key determining factor is playmaking. Gradey Dick has all the tools of being a good connector. At 6'7", he can see well over the top of the defense and is a very willing passer who rarely turns the ball over. You can count on him to make quick reads and make plays within the flow of the offense. For instance, I like this read right here off the dribble. He could have hit the roller but realized that help was coming and instead passed it to an open DeJuan Harris, who is a knockdown 40% three-point shooter. In addition, Gradey will use the shooting gravity to make plays off of closeouts or off of pin downs, like lobs, pocket passes, dump offs, etc. And I'm going to bring up the Duncan Robinson comparison once again. He made some very good plays off the dribble or off of screens in the Celtics series. Gradey's vision isn't the greatest and his handles need work, so don't expect him to ever be a primary playmaker. However, it's not hard to envision him being at least a decent connective tissue due to his height and IQ. Jordan Hawkins, on the other hand, is not creative with the ball in his hands yet. You can blame UConn's offense, which kind of restricted him to just being a movement shooter, so he could show more of his playmaking abilities in the NBA. But from his tape, he didn't really show much in terms of playmaking other than making simple reads off of doubles or attacking closeouts. Again, he needs to improve his handles, which is really going to be a huge swing skill for him because it's going to open up so much of his game, especially his playmaking. To provide some stats, Jordan had an assist to turnover ratio of less than 1, and Gradey had the slightly better assist percentage. Alright, reverting back to the little criteria I created for the Magic, you can conclude that Jordan Hawkins is statistically the better contested shot maker, and you can say that he's a better point of attack defender, but in the NBA he could have trouble due to his weight. Here's what my thought process would be if I was Jeff Weltman. Following the Nuggets, Heat, and Celtics blueprint, he's going to still prioritize length but also have everyone in the starting lineup being able to play make and on the other end hold their own on switches and react fast on rotations. I think Gradey matches that criteria better because of his connective playmaking and his size on defense as a 2 guard. Having playoff aspirations next year, the Magic could be thinking about what would happen in the playoffs, where teams actively target smaller and weaker players. We've seen specialist shooters being played off the floor in the playoffs countless times, but I think Gradey Dick, more than Jordan Hawkins, could hang due to his size and IQ, and especially once his frame fills out. To finish off, I want to say that I really like Hawkins as a prospect. Problem is that I don't think Jamal Mosley and the Magic coaching staff will run enough off-ball actions for him to fully utilize his skill set. Also, his non-stop movement off the ball could disrupt Paolo when he's isoing on the left block, causing chaos when Hawkins' defender could run towards Paolo while chasing him. But on the other hand, you could say that Paolo could pass out of the double to an open Hawkins waiting in the corner. But yeah, I think Hawkins could be the better player, but Gradey the better fit with the Magic. I think Hawkins will kill it on the Jazz, Heat, Raptors, or Pelicans. Gradey can be hitting better on defense in the playoffs because of his size, like Duncan Robinson, whose name I brought up one too many times already, or like a Kevin Huerter, post Achilles tear Klay Thompson. Hawkins, I think he could average 20 points per game in the future if he improves his handles significantly because he has more wiggle in his game, but that's a huge ask for him right now. The Magic should take a swing at a high ceiling player at number 6 like an Ausar Thompson or a Cam Whitmore and then take the best fit at 11, and I think in the eyes of Walton and Hammond, Gradey Dick will be just that. Now, a wildcard option is Michigan freshman Jett Howard, son of Julian Howard, who is another tall shooting prospect. But I don't know if I should make a video on him, or I could make a video on him because he played a good chunk of his freshman season with a severe ankle injury. His game film shows him to be a liability on defense and just not being athletic enough off the dribble. But I think injury sapped some of his bursts. He showed good shot making ability before his injury, and I thought that he was a better freshman shooter than Gradey Dick early on. Another wild card is Brice Sensabaugh, but his defense could scare away the Magic. But I think he's going to be a straight bucket getter regardless and bring some elite shooting. I'm willing to bet that Sensabaugh will average at least 20 points a game once in his career. Now, whether that's on a winning team or a lottery team is yet to be decided, but I'm confident in his overall scoring ability. But his past medical concerns and his defense could be too much of a red flag for the Magic. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Tell me what you guys think. Should we take Gradey Dick or Jordan Hawkins? Or is there another shooter who could be a better option? Or should the Magic take a shooter in the second round? Maybe Julian Strawther or Dariq Whitehead if he drops. Maybe move up to get him. Please let me know. I'll make sure to make a detailed video about one of them. Thanks for watching. If this video brought some value to you, then please like it and share with other Magic fans who aren't aware of this channel. Thanks for all the love, peace, and go Magic.